Jack McDowell wowed a standing room only crowd with a dazzling pitching performance. McDowell pitched 8 shutout innings and allowed 3 hits as the Sox blanked the Cincinnati Reds 2-0. In the bottom of the 4th inning, Greg Walker hit a towering home run. The ball bounced off the top of the scoreboard in right center field. Walker now leads the Sox with 4 homers in the spring campaign. Harold Baines scored the other Sox run by driving in center fielder Lance Johnson. Baines now has a dozen RBIs for the spring. Today, the Texas Rangers take on the White Sox from Payne Park in Sarasota. The Rangers send to the mound knuckleballer Charlie Hough, while the White Sox are sending Melido Perez. The White Sox and the Rangers next on Sports Vision. Live from Payne Park in Sarasota, Florida, it's the Texas Rangers against the Chicago White Sox in exhibition baseball. On the mound today, Charlie Hough. He's 1-0 for the Rangers this spring. He'll be opposed by young Melido Perez. Perez comes in at 0-1. Hi, everybody. I'm John Rooney, along with Tom Paciorek. A great game yesterday. 2-0. The White Sox beat the Cincinnati Reds, but 8 shutout innings for McDowell. And I'll tell you, Jack really picked the ball club up. Everybody's smiling around here today, Tom.
Well, he really did, John. I think Jack McDowell pitched this spring finally like everybody expected him to do, and like he did last September. Jack really combined an outstanding fastball and a good sharp breaking ball, but the thing was he's throwing strike 1. So it was really exciting for the whole team.
On the mound today, Melido Perez, and he has thrown strikes this spring despite the 0-1 record.
Well, he really has. Melido Perez has done an outstanding job. He's got a 1.6 earned run average, and he throws 4 pitches over the plate. He can throw the fastball, the slider, the curve, and the change over, and he's just done a real fine job.
He came over from Kansas City. Now, we couldn't get Bobby Valentine to talk about his starter today, and Charlie Hough is on the mound. What would Bobby say about his veteran?
Well, this is Texas Ranger manager Bob Valentine, and I'm counting on Charlie Hough to make 67 starts this year, and hopefully he'll pitch till he's 105.
We'll find out. We have the Rangers or the White Sox, and Tom has the starting lineups.
Okay, here's the starting lineups for the Texas Rangers under manager Bobby Valentine. Leading off in center field will be Odeby McDowell. Batting second is shortstop Scott Fletcher. Batting third and playing right field will be Ruben Sierra. Batting fourth and playing left field will be Pete Incaviglia. Batting fifth is the first baseman Pete O'Brien. Batting sixth is the DH Larry Parrish. Batting seventh is catcher Gino Petrali. Batting eighth is the third baseman Steve Buchel, and batting ninth is Jerry Brown at second base. And here's our national anthem.
Tom, what
279 home runs. In memory of Payne, we ask now for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Okay, before the anthem today, there was a moment of silence in memory of former White Sox great Ted Kluszewski, who died yesterday. On the mound today for the Texas Rangers will be veteran right-hander Charlie Hough, who's 1-0 this spring with a fine 2.65 earned run average. And he'll be pitching to a lineup of Jim Fregosi, Chicago White Sox. Leading off for the Sox will be the center fielder Lance Johnson. Batting second is second baseman Donnie Hill. Hitting third will be the DH Harold Baines. Hitting cleanup and playing right field will be Ivan Calderon. Batting fifth is the first baseman Greg Walker. Batting sixth is Carlton Fisk. Batting seventh, left fielder Dan Pasqua. Hitting eighth will be the third baseman Kenny Williams. And batting ninth is shortstop Ozzie Guillen. Pitching for the White Sox this afternoon is young right-hander Melido Perez. Perez has a 0-1 record this spring with an outstanding 1.64 earned run average. The umpires today, behind the plate is Jim Joyce, at first base Terry Kraft, and at third base Tim Wilkie. Today's weather calls for mostly sunny skies with a temperature of 83 degrees. The winds are out of the east at 11 miles an hour, and it's blowing to right field again, John.
Yeah, the wind is blowing out as we start the contest, but how much does that matter? Charlie Hough really has the knuckleball working today. That thing is usually about knee-high, and then the bottom will fall out of the knuckleball, and the White Sox hitters will be out to simply make contact and then try to let the rest take care of itself.
Well, that's okay. Here's the White Sox defensively. From left to right, Danny Pasqua is in left, Lance Johnson in center, Ivan Calderon is in right field, Kenny Williams will be at third base, Ozzie Guillen at shortstop, Donnie Hill at second, Greg Walker's at first base. Catching will be Carlton Fisk, and pitching today is young right-hander Melido Perez. Perez on the spring is 0-1 with a 1.64 earned run average. He's pitched 22 innings, allowed 17 hits, 5 bases on balls, and 10 strikeouts. He's a control pitcher. He throws a fastball, curve, slider, change. And he comes after you. He doesn't mess around. He likes to get strike ones on the hitter. So, John, it's up to you. Let's go with the play-by-play with my partner, John Rooney.
Okay, Tom. Perez spent portions of last year at the Class A level, Double A level, and then in September, when the Major League rosters were expanded, the Kansas City Royals called him up. And he won in his Major League debut against the White Sox at Royal Stadium on September 4th. He was 1-1 with Kansas City last year, a 7.84 earned run average, after going 8-5 at Memphis and 4-3 in Fort Myers in Class A baseball. He had a 2.38 ERA when he earned the promotion to Double A. He's the brother of Pascual Perez, who pitches for Montreal. I really have enjoyed watching him work. He worked against Texas at Port Charlotte, was not involved in a decision in a game the White Sox lost 2-1. A home run for Roy Smalley accounted for the White Sox run, and then later in the game, a 2-run homer by Steve Kemp, who made the Ranger Ball Club, won the contest over at Port Charlotte. So the White Sox and the Rangers get together today. This more than likely will be the last ball game the White Sox will play here at Payne Park, because the stadium is scheduled to be ready next spring when the White Sox get down here for the 1989 exhibition season. Bobby Valentine, the manager of the Rangers. You saw Jim Fregosi a moment ago. They'll take it easy right now, but Monday, Tuesday, it all gets started. Major League Baseball. Monday for the White Sox against the California Angels at Comiskey. You're looking at Otoby McDowell. He's the center fielder, the leadoff man, batting .283 for the spring. You don't see some real high batting averages when you get on down the lineup for the Texas Rangers as far as spring training goes.
Well, you really don't, John. They look like they're all hitting in that interstate, that I-90, I-38 area. Guys are having some bad springs for Texas.
So Melido starts him off with a breaking ball inside. Sun is behind a cloud right now, a little breezy with the wind blowing out towards center field now. Fastball for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. See the wind now blowing from right field out towards center. Just a while ago, the wind was blowing out to right field. McDowell with a wide open stance. Carlton Fisk is doing the catching today. He has that right leg heavily taped. Didn't look like too bad a pitch. 2 balls and a strike.
That's the old strike. As we've been talking about since we've been broadcasting, the strike zone has been lowered, and the the hitters are starting to take advantage of it.
Out of play off to the left. What's confusing about the strike zone? With some, they'll say the strike zone has been lowered, yet other umpires will tell you, well, my strike zone was from the belt down to the knee, so I have to raise it a little bit.
Well, that's some
get
guys,
used to it.
That's true. Some guys claim that they are going with the lower strike zone, but the American League has been predominantly calling pitches a little bit higher than the National League, and so now I guess they're going to go for a little bit more uniformity.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Leadoff batter, Odabe McDowell. Takes just high. That looked good.
Well, Odabe's not very tall. He's only about 5'8", and that still looked like a real good pitch. Here it is again. It's a fastball, and well, he ducked it a little bit. It could have been high. New strike zone.
A full count with Scott Fletcher, the shortstop. Former White Sox player waiting on deck. And a base runner as McDowell is on, leading off the game. It's the 6th walk given up this spring by Melido Perez. And Scott Fletcher comes up. Fletcher is hitting .364 for the spring with no home runs, 7 runs batted in. Last year, he hit .287 and stole 13 bases.
Scotty Fletcher is one of the few guys on this Ranger ball club that's having a good spring, John, hitting .364. The rest, as a team, the Rangers are only hitting .241, which is very low. The opponents are hitting .263 against the Rangers.
That's too low.
And I was talking with Tom Grieve earlier in the day, and he's a little bit concerned about the lack of offense from the guys they're really counting on this year from the Ranger ball club. You've got Larry Parrish hitting .136. Pete Incaviglia is only hitting .192. Pete O'Brien .231. And Jerry Brown, the regular second baseman, is down to .134 area. So he's concerned about their offense.
1-0 the count. There's a fastball strike. McDowell, who stole 24 bases last year, has stolen 4 bases this season, but he's been caught 5 times. He was bluffing a move on the last pitch, and the count goes to 1-1. 1986, Fletcher led the Rangers with a .300 average. He was 15th in the American League in batting then. Last year, .287. That caught the corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, Scotty Fletcher, in order to hit .300 in the last series of the season, John, he had to get 5 hits off of Mike Witt to do it. So he's tenacious. He can hit anybody. He can hit right-handers, left-handers equally well, and he's a great competitor.
He'll spray the ball around the outfield. 1 ball, 2 strikes. His career average against the White Sox is .242. Wouldn't chase the pitch, 2-2. Odabe McDowell walked to lead off the game. Scott Fletcher is batting. Melido Perez, 22 years old, from the Dominican Republic, 6'4", 180 pounds. He was involved in the Bannister trade with Kansas City. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Runner goes, good jump. And Carlton, I don't think he would have had a chance anyway. It didn't matter. Such a big jump.
Yeah, he had a big jump, and the ball was in the dirt. Tough play for Carlton Fisk. I think Bobby Valentine's going to try and get these Rangers running a little bit more since they're not getting much offensive production. And you see Odabe looking up. It could have, well, it wasn't a hit and run because of 2 strikes situation, but he took the look back, which is a good idea for base runners to take that little peek so they can't be deked by the infielders as to thinking that it's the ball has been hit when it really wasn't.
McDowell on second base, 3-2 on Fletcher. Perez has gone the distance with the first 2 batters. Another full count pitch here. Pickoff move. Oh, it hit him.
Oh, boy.
Bobby Valentine quickly out to second base.
I think he's okay, John. The ball probably did hit him in the back of the helmet or the neck. Just underneath the helmet on the left side. Looks like he's okay. That doesn't feel good, though.
Not a bad idea because McDowell had the big lead, but the throw was right down on the bag and got there right at the same time Odabe did.
Right. Well, it's the daylight play. Ozzie wanted to as soon as Ozzie, the pitcher sees daylight between the runner and Ozzie, he throws to second base. Ozzie breaks. As soon as he sees him breaks, they had a good shot at getting him. A good throw on the bag may have gotten Odeby.
Would have.
He's okay. One thing you don't want is to lose your center fielder in an exhibition game.
Well, as late as it is. The
Yes.
season starting next week, Tom.
Yeah, and they're really counting on Odeby McDowell to have a productive year like he had when he was a rookie. You know, he spent very little time in the minor leagues. He was called up after about a month at Oklahoma City. He had a very quick trip to the major leagues, and they hope to keep him there for a number of years.
3-2 on Fletcher. Too low. Looks like it's going to be a tight strike zone today for Jim Joyce.
Well, it really does, John. You know, the one thing I've noticed about the strike zone so far the last few days is the fact that they're not widening it out. You know, they've condensed it a little bit as from a height standpoint, but I would have thought that the umpires would give the pitchers the benefit of the doubt if they keep the ball down and give them an inch or two on the outside and inside corners, and it doesn't appear that they're doing that right now.
So in 22 innings of work prior to today, only 5 walks for Melido Perez, and he has walked the first 2 batters against the Rangers. Ruben Sierra is waiting to hit. Sierra is batting .232 for the spring. He does have 3 home runs with 7 runs batted in. They play outfield. The infielders.
Very tough man to double up. The guy can fly.
And Perez is trying to keep the ball down to get a ground ball. Let's check the defense for the White Sox. Field. Fisk had a few words to say, shouting them out to his pitcher, Melido Perez, who is trying to find the strike zone in the first inning. Nobody out, 2 on. And that had the approval of Carlton Fisk, but not home plate umpire Jim Joyce. 2 balls, no strikes.
You know, it appears, John, that Jim Joyce is going to make Melido throw the ball down the middle of the plate. You know, the veterans always seem to get stripes in the major leagues.
Carlton said something to Joyce, talking over that right shoulder. Made Sierra swing at the high pitch. No contact, 2-1.
Well, that's the pitch that Sierra is generally going to have trouble with. Left-handed. He's more of a low ball hitter left-handed, high ball hitter right-handed, which is usually the case. As we look at Pete Incaviglia on deck, he usually your switch hitters are that way. Left-handed, they're low ball hitters. Right-handed, they're high ball hitters.
2 balls and a strike. Fastball on the corner, 2-2. That was a nice fastball. Plenty of pop on that.
And it ran away. This is a situation, too, where Sierra is going to try and pull the ball to advance the runners. Get that runner to third with 1 out, or less than 2 outs.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And a foul ball over to Jim Fregosi.
That's got to be one of the most exasperating things for a pitcher. You throw your A pitch right exactly where you want it. You got the hitter completely fooled. Off strike, swings at it one hand, and he fouls it off. He couldn't hit it fair because you know that's an out.
But that's how good a hitter Sierra can be.
Oh, yes. Very talented. People have said that he's the next Roberto Clemente. Of course, he's wearing Roberto's number at 21, being from Puerto Rico.
2-2.
Now.